Alright, if you're an idiot like me, you are into all sorts of old rusty stuff. If you guys watched the video, I had my mouse hole anvil, and I had put it into our tank and gotten the rust off. And so I just kind of was digging up all the other anvils that are laying around here, and I thought I'd run through them and show you guys what, I guess, a little bit of the history of anvils. This one right here is the oldest one we've got, and this was William Foster. I don't know if you can see that on here if you look at it. Should have probably used some sort of highlighting. Here you go. You can kind of see up here William, and then over here Foster. And then they're known for two things. One, this is kind of their insignia. It's a crown. And then they're the only ones that, according to Anvils in America, from that Richard Postman, the only ones that numbered them or put the date on them. This one, I think this is just like a maker's mark or something on here. But 1845, I'm in Wisconsin, and I believe we became a state 1848. So this is a pretty this is pre-Wisconsin as a state. This one's kind of a cool. It's an old one, and if you look, the weights on this side, so that's 112, 0, and then 7. So I think this is a 119-pound anvil. And one of the cool things on here, if you look kind of closely, you can see when this is wrought iron, but they have like a different plate on top here, more of a harder steel plate that's, I'll say, forge welded, and that's kind of where you get this initial step here from. You can see it on this side too. If you look real closely, you can see there's a line that kind of comes all the way across, and that's where they forge welded this plate on top. And this one has the Pritchell hole and I always forget what the other one's called, but that's where your tools go in. So all in all, pretty decent, cool little anvil. If I go to the Richard Postman book again, the Anvils in America, pretty sweet little book. He's got one in here. Hopefully this shows up on the camera here, but this is a 1846, same deal. The name here, a little crown on top, some maker's marks on the bottom. So obviously this one's 1845. Is when this one was made. So this is the oldest one that I've come across. Did the same thing where I cleaned all the rust off and painted it clear. So I'll kind of run through these so you can see them as from the oldest to the newest, I guess, and see what's all out there. All right, here's, I'll say, the one that started it all here. This is the one you guys saw in the other video where I put it in the tank. And I had no idea what kind this was because it had multiple coats of like a primer on it. This one's got the same deal where you can kind of see the steel plate on top here, kind of welded on. And hardy hole. I don't think this is the right size for this one, but this is the hardy hole and the Pritchell hole, which I think they said 1830 somewhere in there according to all the books I was reading. That's kind of when they started putting the Pritchell hole in. But this one here, this has got a, you kind of see real lightly M&H. And it's Armitage mouse hole forge, and then 1, 2, 3, which I think means like 150-ish pounds. And this one here matches up for date-wise. I think if you look in again, this is Anvils in America, and it looks like they started doing the actual mouse image. So just prior to that, 1830 to 1875, it's got the M&H Armitage mouse hole forge, and then the date. So this book here, Anvils in America, from that Richard Postman, kind of shows that one as probably the most likely. Again, that's Anvils in America. His favorite anvil is apparently these mouse hole forges, or mouse hole is the brand. So here's another book. This is actually Mouse Hole Forge by the same guy. Definitely recommend picking up both these books if you're interested at all in kind of anvil history and how that stuff goes. But this one's roughly 1860. So I'm guessing the one I've got, 1860, pretty close. It's got the M&H Armitage Mouse Hole Forge, the numbers on there. There's the one after that. The later ones have a lot more text on here. So I'm guessing this one is the Mouse Hole Forge. Armitage 1860 is what I'm guessing for this one. Constructed pretty much the same. No markings on this side. The older one there had markings on this side. Had the weight, I think, on this side. This one I can't really tell. There's some you know, all of these have tons of wear. I mean, they've been around for quite some time, so they've all got wear all over the place, but not too bad for being from the 1860s. So again, this is the mouse hole forge, and you can kind of see the M&H. I don't know why that's so light up on top here. The rest of these is really dark, unless it's from potentially, you know, metals bending over this edge and then kind of washing that out. I guess a lot of them that happens. And on the couple that I'll show you for the Peter Wright, one of them I think has had a lot of hits on the side that would have washed off most of the nameplate. So, but there's another one. All right, as we're going through the anvils here, this is a Peter Wright patented, where it's got the solid wrought, but it's not, the numbers aren't inside of the solid wrought. 113, I believe, corresponds to, should be like 143 pounds, roughly. The first number, 112, second number 28, and the third one is the actual pounds. So I believe that's what that one is. So it seems kind of odd that everyone that I've seen in the Anvils in America book has got the middle number is inside the center. So I wonder if this is right when they first started doing this on here. One thing, it's got the Pritchell hole and the other hole for your tools. They did say after like 1860 somewhere in there that these got a little longer. I don't know if this is one that's longer or if it's just a standard size. One of the things that we were looking at, a lot of information out of, this is the Anvils in America. It's a pretty good book. And if you look through some of the ones that they have in here, like here's one that's a Peter Wright that doesn't have the solid wrought. And that was 1852 to 1860. And if you go back to this one here, 1885 to 1910, this has got the Peter Wright patent, and then it's got the solid wrought with the thing in the middle. It does not have a letter down here, which I don't know if that's in the text here. It says something a little differently, but 1910, if it's got that dot. I've got another one that looks like it might have a letter down there. I don't know if that said anything, but it's missing. The other one's missing a lot of the other stuff. We'll show you that one in a second here. But I believe this one to be a little older, probably like the 1860 to, let's say, 1885, I think is according to this book. So that would be something that a lot of the other ones, like I said, they all have the solid wrought around the center number. So not sure if this is, like I said, an early one that would maybe it's just a mistake too. But they, you know, this one actually has got some pretty decent lettering on where you can read most of it. It's had some pretty rough life here, all the, you know, dings and stuff. But this one, like I said, this one here looks like solid wrought. It's not in the top number, so I'm guessing it's one of the older ones, probably before they, right after they started adding this, but before they figured out, hey, it'd be smart to put it around there. So this one's also got something kind of neat on top here. If you can see, it looks like someone was pounding something that says "Made in USA," but it's like it's all in reverse on here. So I'm not sure what that's all about. The top's got some pretty good, you know, dings. This has got a little bit of a drop in it there, but otherwise not too bad of a little shape for an anvil there. All right, this is another section from the Anvils in America book, but it mentions that the Illinois Iron and Bolt Company logo on the bottom, that's this anvils are rare. The trademark itself changed 3 times. So they've got a 1875 and 76, which says patent information on, which this one that I've got doesn't have this side one, but it looks just like this one. So I'm guessing 1880s, somewhere in there. So that's the book. Now if you look here at the actual anvil, so there it says Vulcan brand, and then if you look on the side, it has the Illinois Iron and Bolt Company logo. These are supposed to be a steel-faced cast iron anvil. Not sure if that's good or bad. It doesn't ring like the other ones do, but it seems to be a pretty functional little anvil. This one was actually my grandpa's. He had given to me a while back. So it's been around for a while. I'm not sure if it's the one they had on the farm or if it's one he just happened to pick up along the way, but it's a nice little unit. So this one here is the largest one, and I think it's going to be the newest one. 336, I think 346 pounds. And all you can read on this one, you can kind of see, I don't know if you'll be able to see it in the video or not, kind of see around the 0. There's a wrought, solid wrought. I don't think you're going to be able to, maybe you can see parts of it there. There's the 0, that's part of the D right there. But it's the only thing you can really read. You can see how beat up it is. And this is a fairly large anvil. In reading the Richard Postman book, Anvils in America, keep on referencing that one, there's a whole section in here that kind of mentions that if you have, well, the sun has really messed with me today, if you have a stamp down here, and this one says T, there's a T stamped in, between that and then there's supposed to be some writing that says England after 1910, but the closest I can come up with is he's got some information in here on 1910. There's something they have to put England on it. The word England on them are made after 1910. And then they have the higher, thinner waist. The horn is more rounded on most of them and look to be the same. They usually have a letter between the feet below the weight marks. So this one here you kind of see in this higher, thinner waist. It's more of a kind of subjective, I guess. I couldn't see any of this lettering on top here. If you look here, it says, you know, Peter Wright, patent England, and then you can see the solid wrought, and then you see the numbers, and then this letter on the bottom. So if you kind of compare that to this, I guess it could be. So I'm thinking this one, oh, the other thing is, apparently these top plates were made in multiple pieces on the larger ones, and after that 1910 it was a single piece, and I guess it's really hard to tell, and you kind of see here, this is just a rust mark. I don't think that's where there's 2 plates there. It kind of looks like that in the video here, but I think it's more likely that this is a 1910 version, a thinner, higher waist, like he said, and then the single piece top plate, and then just that number down on the bottom there. So that's what the mark should look like on there. Again, all I've got left is a little bit of the circle, the numbers, and then this letter on the bottom. I think in another section, either in this book or in the Mouse Hole book, he mentions that the section where the lettering goes, or sorry, I'm on the wrong side here. The section where the lettering goes is one of the areas where a lot of blacksmiths end up, kind of using the side of the anvil. So that's likely what happened to the name on this one. But I'm convinced this is a Peter Wright. It's got a lot larger hardy hole than the other ones. This is probably 1.5 inches, somewhere in there. Pritchel hole, pretty good shape on this one. It's got a lot of marks. This is the hard part of your anvil, so that's the part you're supposed to be pounding on. This you shouldn't be messing with unless you've got, since it's like a really hot piece of metal. Looks like this is kind of wallowed out. It's got a little bit of a dish to it from being worked on a lot there. Looks to me like somebody hit it with a torch right here. It's kind of got some dimples and whatnot here where it was kind of hit. But did the same thing with this one. Put it in the tank, got rid of the rust, painted it clear. Although, as you can see on here, I had it on my porch. I wanted to have it out there as a decoration. And this is just from the winter, from the snow sitting on it. So I'm going to have to take this and kind of clean it up again and maybe get a few more coats of clear paint on there. See if I can get that to hold up a little better. Alright, this here is, I believe, a blacksmith's cone. And I think these are cast. I'm not 100% certain how these are made here, but if I tip this thing down, a little bit difficult to see here. It doesn't fall down and smash my foot. If you look down in here, it's got, hard to see here, but it's like it's just a cast. It's got a seam on this side. There you go. There's one seam right there, up and down. Another one on that side. So that's the one that's, I'll say, pointy. I'll show you the other one in a minute here. That's I don't know if it's made without the point on top or if it's just damaged. But there's one blacksmith's cone. So this is the blacksmith's cone that I was mentioning that there's a hole in the top here, and if you look at it kind of closely, I think these are cast iron, and I can't see, I mean, it looks, I don't know, it looks to me like it was formed this way. Like if it was broken and someone ground it down with a grinder, I think you'd see more sharp edges or smooth edges or something there. So I can't really see anything else in here, and there's not a lot of information, and there's a small, like one little section in that Postman book, Anvils in America book. But again, this is like the other one where it's cast. I think this one, I always thought if I can get myself a forge, I'd make myself the remainder of that cone. I know some of these have a slot in the side, so when you have your tongs and you're trying to make rings and whatnot, you can grab it, because obviously if you had something on here, it'd be difficult to get it off there. So some of them have a slot all the way along that you can pick stuff out with. Haven't seen one of those, but so this is kind of my anvil and cone setup here. I haven't had a lot of opportunity to use the cone for anything, but the anvil I use pretty frequently. Again, I don't have a forge, but I do a lot of metal working, so anytime you need anything solid to bang on, it's nice to have an anvil close by. What I could probably do, something we haven't done yet, is in the view here. So that's, I guess you gotta have your obligatory anvil bouncing here. So anyway, that's the anvils I've got. Well, hope that made sense to everyone, and have a great day.